You're listening to LibraryCast, your library podcast with me, Jeremy Thompson-Smith, Somerset Libraries Outreach Officer for the Mendives, bringing to you libraries from home. On this week's podcast, we welcome Kirsty Fitzpatrick, Somerset Libraries and Information Officer. Kirsty, hello, welcome to LibraryCast. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you for having me.
Absolutely welcome. Welcome to LibraryCast. And this is the first time that we've actually met since we last worked in Shepton Mallet Library. How long ago did we work together?
Oh gosh, that must have been last year. Last year.
You're so enthusiastic about libraries. I've always thoroughly enjoyed working with you. I see the children coming into the libraries. Let's take it back to the moment that you put your application in the post to work for Somerset Libraries. Where did you see the advert and what motivated you to actually put that application online or in the post to Somerset Libraries?
I was looking for a job and I think I found the advert on the Somerset Council job application site. I can't remember what it's called. And I remember reading through thinking, oh my goodness, this is the job for me because I love books and I love people. So I put my application in. I remember going for the interview and I was absolutely terrified before I went for my interview. However, the people who interviewed me were lovely. And I remember coming out of there thinking, I must have this job. And obviously I got the job, so I was very pleased.
So how long did you spend at Shepton Mallet before you sort of moved to Street Community Library?
It must have been, oh goodness, I'm not very good with time. It must have been maybe 3 or 4 years. I can't remember exactly. So it was 3 or 4 years.
So you were heavily involved in Shepton. Whenever I came over on relief, you know, you were telling me your link up with the Friends of Shepton Library, and you were also telling me about loads of events that you had in the pipeline or you were dreaming of. Tell us a little bit about some of those highlights that you actually managed to sort of get going and produce for Shepton Library.
We had a few events. We had a one that really sticks in my memory is the Love Your Libraries Day. So we decided just to put together with Shepton Mallet, there was a lot of community interest and there's lots of community groups. So we put together a day where everybody could get together in the library. We had British Legion. We had a lady coming in doing crafts. We had another lady who does makeup for film and television. She came in. We had authors. And it was amazing. And it was so wonderful because the library was absolutely jam-packed full of people. Everybody was happy. Everybody had a wonderful time. So that really sticks in my mind. I was absolutely exhausted by the end of the day, but it was the best feeling ever.
Lots of wonderful community spirit at Shepton Library, some very, very loyal followers. The community of Shepton Library are wonderful. I remember having some great times working with you and Janet at the library. Wonderful characters that come into the library, coming in for their newspaper to do the quiz. There's more quizzes at the library at Shepton than I've seen in any other library. Do you have some sort of nice moments that you can remember from your readership that visited you when you worked there?
Oh, I absolutely... So at Shepton, I have some really, really fond memories. One thing I loved about Shepton Mallet Library was the fact that there were so many diverse groups of people that would come into the library and chat and just they'd know each other. We'd have a good natter. The people there were lovely. I really do miss them. Obviously, I love Street. I love the people in Street. But Shepton it really does sort of hold a special place in my heart. The people were really lovely. Yeah.
You come across to me at least, and when I see your activities and see what you post on Facebook for the library service, you're very good with crafts and putting some nice sort of displays in the library. Tell me about your favourite display that you did either at Street or when you previously worked at Shepton.
Well, if I'm honest, I can't really take a whole lot of credit for my displays because I go on Pinterest, which is a wealth of, it's amazing. And that's where I pick up a lot of ideas. And obviously I do change them a little bit and make them my own. So at Street Library, for example, at the moment, we have signposts. So we have a large signpost with pointing in all different directions with all different worlds, book worlds. So for example, we have Narnia, Hogwarts, I can't think of any more off the top of my head, but you understand what I mean. So yeah, that's one that I really like that display. That's quite cool. That looks good. And at Christmas as well, we had a story, an evening Christmas storytelling time thing where children could come in their pajamas. They'd get a cookie and some hot chocolate. So I took in my chair for my lounge. I have what I call my granny chair. It's a fireside chair. And I brought in my lamp to go with it. And we created like a storytelling area so the children could come sit round and listen to stories. That's another one I did. But that was my idea. I didn't steal that off of Pinterest.
That sounds amazing. And I hope we can share more of those events when our libraries are reopening. I've noticed you online. You are telling stories. You're fantastic. I want to be a child again and sit down and listen to your stories online. So tell us about where we can find your stories that you are making for Somerset Libraries.
So you can find my stories on the Street Facebook library page. So if you type in Somerset Library Street, you'll be able to find my stories. I'm doing them weekly, every Saturday. And any children that want, any parents that want us to say hello to their children, we do. I'm loving it, absolutely loving it. I love telling stories.
Well, you're in the right place. You're also part of the Mendip Children's Book Group. I remember a while back you telling me this is a really good place to sort of seek out ideas and things. I know nothing about it. I've just been so busy with our refit that we did in 2019 at Cheddar Library that it's about time I looked into this. Tell us a bit about the Mendip Children's Book Group and your role in that.
So Mendip Children's Book Group we're a voluntary organisation. We come under the umbrella of the Federation of Children's Book Groups, which is a nationwide organisation, a charitable organisation. And it's joining together all different children's book groups from across the country. They have a yearly Children's Book Award, which is voted for exclusively by children, which is really exciting. But our group in Mendip, we are focusing on starting up children's book groups. So we're looking to get some young adult book groups together. And we are also doing something called the Library Passport Scheme, which is in the works. And this is to connect children, schools and libraries together. And my colleague, Helen, who is the chairperson for Mendip Children's Book Groups, is looking to get it as a qualification. So she's applying to Ofqual at the moment. So we're hoping that we can have it as a recognised qualification.
How can we find out more about the Mendip Children's Book Group? And is it open to everybody? Where can we join this?
Yep, so it's open to everybody. We have different types of memberships. We have single memberships, which would probably suit maybe a professional, a teacher or a librarian. We have family memberships and we have school memberships. If you search us in Google and type in Mendip Children's Book Group, you'll find us on Facebook and Twitter, and we have our own website as well.
I also remember when we were working together when I was on relief at Shepton Library that you had aspirations for writing.
Well, yes, I'm still starry-eyed. I absolutely love young adult literature, and particularly fantasy. And I have been writing for quite a few years, but I'm currently I'm in something called the Golden Egg Academy. So I am working on my novel with them, and it's very exciting. I don't have a title for it yet. It really is just a book. But yes, one day I'm going to persevere. This isn't a race or a sprint. It's a marathon. It's a long distance marathon. It's going to take me a long time, but one day I'll get there.
So I need a bit more detail, Kirsty. This is LibraryCast. We have attention to detail in the libraries. Any characters formed? Any names of characters? We're looking for a library podcast exclusive here. What can you share?
What can I share? So my book is, so the book I'm working on at the moment is about a young girl called Tabitha, who is caretaker to a village of trapped immortal witches. And it is, so that's the premise of my story, and it gets a bit dark.
Oh, okay. Well, that's what young adult books are about. Have you written any pages yet, or are you still formulating and creating your characters?
I've probably written it once. So I've written a first draft that was really bad. So I wrote maybe 80,000 words for that, decided it was rubbish, so I scrapped it and I've started again. I'm about 25 to 30,000 words into this draft. I expect to write it maybe about 4 or 5 times before it's okay.
So we expect to see it in our children's shelves and our young adult shelves and our young adult apartments and all the Somerset libraries in a few years' time. It's been absolutely, I know, it's been wonderful catching up. This is the first time we've actually spoken long. It's been fantastic catching up with you. Must come into Street Library. If there's one sort of dream, one aspiration that you would like to create, no, don't worry about budget or money. If you could bring in some really lovely change to our wonderful libraries, what would you like to do to the libraries if you had that magic wand?
Oh my goodness, that's such a good question. Do you know what? One thing I'd love in our library is if we could create like a room, like a Hogwarts type room, where we could have sofas and make it a really magical room where children can go and read and let their imagination just go wild. That's what I'd love. I'd love to turn our libraries into Hogwarts. There we go.
I knew you were a Potter fan. I had that same question asked of me by the Kings of Wessex School in Cheddar, and I was imagining a scene in a library, like a night in the museum, a night in a library, where all the characters from the book come to life. We need to create that space.
Oh, yes, definitely.
We'll get our IT and digital officers working on that as we speak. Yes. Well, we will come out of our lockdown and reopen our libraries better and brighter and happier, thanks to all our wonderful colleagues like you. Kirsty Fitzpatrick, thank you for joining us on LibraryCast. You have been listening to LibraryCast with me, Jeremy Thompson-Smith, for Somerset Libraries.